Hi, I'm Mike Abernathy, and we're going to kind of digress here just a little bit. We've spent quite a few hours these visits video talking about things that your office should do, things that financial side of it and stuff like that. But I want to go back up just a little bit and look at leadership just for a moment. I mean, I'm sorry, and this may not sound very good, but you know the world doesn't need another average dentist or an average practice. Uh, Again, I don't even know when just being okay was acceptable, or that maybe average was a destination. But at this time, I mean, in a time when you've got to make decisions, you've got to become a stronger leader. I mean, all of Summit's systems and everything were based on kind of a stool that had three legs: purpose-driven, doctor-led, staff-owned. So I want to just touch on leadership one more time. Again, hopefully you've been acting the whole time over this last 6, 8, however long it's been, weeks. You'll need to continue to make difficult decisions. We sent out special reports about difficult decisions being made for staff, how to convert hygiene to commission, some of the facts and actions you need to take at this time. But the first job of a leader is to kind of define reality. And as you come back into your offices, as you begin again, I'm hoping that maybe if we even fired up even an ember with any of you, that your staff won't even recognize you when you come back. You're more positive. You're more engaged. You're more black and white as far as making your decisions quickly, being accountable for the results, and moving forward. There's going to be some staff that aren't there now. There's going to be staff that probably shouldn't be there now. But you're going to have to make decisions, and this isn't going to get easier during the recovery side of a pandemic. And then quickly on its heels, we're going to have a financial recession. And then again, it's going to pop up again, the pandemic. And then we've got flu season again. And then we've got the year-end stuff. I mean, we've got a lot of things that we're juggling, okay? So I need you to think about what's core in your practice. I mean, what is inviolable? What are you willing to do, and what are you not willing to do? What's reality? And make sure your staff understands that. You've got to preserve core. And at the same time, when you preserve core, you've got to stimulate progress. And I think the biggest mistake, when I'm talking to doctors over the phone, maybe I've never met them, and we're just talking and I'm asking questions, because the person asking the questions controls the conversation. I'm asking questions and they're answering these questions. And that spurs another question. And I realize that a lot of doctors make non-core things core. And from my perspective, when I look at churches, I look at other businesses that make non-core things core, their businesses suffer, they struggle, and usually they fail. I think you've learned over the last 8 weeks or so that consumerism, I mean, understanding what your patients want and try to give that to them is real important. And that if you fail to do that, they'll find somebody who will. You've probably looked real hard at your staff, and I think the mindset was, looking at your office as if you were buying it, totally, and you diagnosed it, you looked at it, what was doing well, what wasn't doing well. Okay, now it's time to act, okay? When you get back, if you're back, got to make these decisions, but your staff's not going to be motivated unless you're motivated, okay? So it's all about service, especially now when all the patients' fears are there and they're worried about an unacceptable level of exposure in a pandemic, okay? You've got to lead. Now, as far as the process of leadership, we have leadership and we have management. And I think most doctors think of leadership as being that management component. I mean, management really is kind of a transaction, okay? So transactional management is kind of rules and regulations. Now, we asked you to go back and look at the job descriptions and make sure the people are doing what you want them to do. So every business has rules and regulations, but if you default leadership to management, you're never going to get ahead, okay? So transactional management is rules and regulations. It is in a way kind of fear-based. It's kind of a carrot and stick. You either do what I ask you to do, or I'm going to free up your future. And with that type of culture, because we're trying to develop a culture in your practice that will take you through a pandemic, that will be scalable, repeatable, adaptable, anything you run up against, okay? When you look at that, you can force people to do what you want them to do for a while. That's called compliance, okay? But you're not getting commitment, okay? Generally, when you talk about transactional management, you're getting compliance, but you're also getting groups of people that work together, not teamwork, okay? It's purely results-based, and it's not growing that culture, okay? Generally, there's poor morale and there's negativity. So what you're looking for, what you're pushing towards is transformational leadership. Every leadership should be transformational, okay? Leaders really do the things that help people change their actions. And that's what you're trying to do now as you go back to work. Okay, so transformational leadership is inspired leadership. It's driven by your vision. And I don't think I said this when I wrote the paper about difficult decisions you make with your staff, but if I didn't, or if I did, I'm going to repeat it, is that you're never going to go any further than the one employee in your practice. Let's say you have 20, or you have 10, or you have 6, or you have 3. The one person has the weakest commitment to your vision. You're limited by what they're going to do. You can't go any farther than that. It's the weakest link, In transformational leadership, you embrace change. Now, I started out saying this. I've said it in every video. The circumstances are going to change. They're going to change rapidly. You saw how fast it went from everything's hunky-dory in January and part of February, and then boom, it hit. Then we were scared, like deer caught in the headlights of an oncoming car. And then all of a sudden, we just kind of get to resignation, where we're going, okay, and I tried to get you to act. You had time. You had time on your hand to get you to act. And now we're coming back, and you're going to get the benefits of the things you acted on, or you're going to find yourself way behind where you need to be, okay? But in transformational leadership, you're going to get commitment, okay? Commitment for your staff, commitment from you, this synergistic effect where 3 or 4 people can do what it used to take 5 or 6, okay? It's kind of a win-win situation with open communication. Leadership like this empowers the team. It should empower the doctor, and it creates a culture of teamwork. So your ultimate goal in leadership is that committed staff, okay? Not compliant, okay? They're committed. And if you have a committed staff, remember I told you, purpose-driven, doctor-led, staff-owned. If you have a committed staff, the next step is that staff ownership. Because if you have a committed staff, you don't really have to manage them. I mean, you can't manage staff. It's like herding cats. If you lead them to the point that they own their profession instead of it's just a compliant job, they show up late, leave early, they get $1 wage, it's this ownership mentality, there's no need to manage them. And so they only need to manage, your office manager, you only need to manage the processes, the protocols and systems. Because if you have a committed staff, you will have gotten the right staff, the right people on the right bus in the right seat. It just changes everything. You can't mold people. We can only provide a clear vision. So remember, you got to be a leader. Leaders create the conditions, okay? Conditions, what you say, what you do, the protocols, the workspace, the team, the people they work with, the conditions where people choose to commit to new actions. So good luck. Leadership is going to be key here. And you're going to have to make sure that just realize without that strong leadership, you're not going to make it. Now, on a lighter note, I use this example of Vince Lombardi, where they just won the Super Bowl. He's got the big space in his teeth, and he's kind of gruff looking, not very tall, got that hat he wears all the time. He's wearing the hat, it was just the press deal after it. And they're all fighting to get his attention. They're going, coach, coach, and he would answer questions. Coach, coach, blah, 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 coach, trying to use attention. Somebody in the back goes, coach, how do you motivate your players? And he stopped. I couldn't even hear the questions. You watch the video. You can't even tell where the questions are coming. But he heard that question over all the others. It wasn't that they were louder. It's that something in the question sparked an emotional response from Vince Lombardi. He said, who said that? Yeah, you. What did you say? He says, coach, how do you motivate your players? He goes, son, my job isn't motivating players. My job is to keep 11 motivated players on the field. You got that? And then he leaves the newsroom. Oh my gosh, his first win like that, and he leaves the newsroom because it infuriated him that anybody would think his job was to keep 300-pound people motivated. He hired motivated people, and he freed up the future of the ones that weren't. The people that don't eat, breathe, and believe in your vision. We can't keep mediocre staff. Take action now.